All right, let's see. Let's see what we've got to come out of this live stream because I can feel some pretty big things coming out. Okay, there's all these new updates to Facebook that I'm learning about, let's say. And I'm just going to plug my phone in here. All right, say hi when you're here, because with all these new updates to Facebook, everything has changed. Now, as always, I'm going to share this live stream and I'll bring up the comments. And I've got a lot to share. My hair, oh my God, I got my hair dyed black again. What the fuck did I not do that for? No, I know I didn't do it for because I was just doing the normal unchemical one. Oh, so this is so weird. See, Facebook's done all these new updates and it's like I'm learning the whole thing over again, so bear with me. So weird. I don't know. Why isn't there a title in my live stream? I did put one in there. Let me put the live stream title in while I wait for you guys to join. And we're doing the live stream out here. I know you'll let me know if it's too windy because my internet is down at home. So if I sit outside, I can get phone reception. It's crazy. All this stuff is trying to stop me from doing my purpose. My finger's still broken. Doctor pulled the pins out, re-broke it. I was exercising it on a broken finger. Internet's been out for 2 days here, due to a storm. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I'm nothing can stop me. Actually, everything can stop you. Wait. Just let me share this because this is what I was saying. Do you let it stop you? Do you let it stop you? Do you let anything stop you? Do you let it stop you? And I'm going to do Q&A on this live stream as well. So if you've got questions, I'm all yours, baby. Ask me anything about anything. I'm just typing this in now because ask me anything about anything. I don't know why it didn't come up. So weird. Are we not even allowed to have, okay, we are allowed to have a title in there. Goodness me. Lucky. Because I got things to say. Do let it stop you. Do let anything stop you. All right, I'm going to share this one more time and bring these comments up so I can see you guys. Oh my goodness. Come on, baby. All right, sweet. All right, so Q&A. Ask me anything about anything. I am all yours, guys. But I also want to talk about, do you let it stop you? Do you let anything stop you that, and I don't even think that that's charging. It's being very temperamental. Had to move my office outside. Lucky phone reception still works. Whatever. I'm in a bit of a weird mood because I've been in a little bit of a weird mood finding out that my finger's still broken on Monday and the whole reality of dealing with a one hand for another month and then starting rehabilitation. Trust me, I'm how can I go back to one hand now? And I'm frustrated as anything. And then the internet goes out. I'm right, okay. Is there anything else? Because you're not gonna stop me. Nobody's gonna stop me. So yes, my hair. Susie says I haven't had notifications for your lives for a while because I haven't gone live for a while. For about 2 weeks actually. I've been in a very very dark space last week. Usually I would come on and speak about it and post about it and stuff, and I just didn't. I just really processed stuff, and I was speaking about this on my story actually. Usually I'd come on and, I've changed and shifted. I actually don't want to talk about the bad shit anymore. You know what I mean? I'm all for keeping it real, But if I'm processing something big, like I don't want to talk about all the bad stuff anymore. Like I just, like something shifted in me. Like it was shifting already before the dog attack, but then it just was almost like, okay, you're not waiting anymore. Like stop putting things off in a way. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, okay, well, I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. I don't want to be everyone's everything anymore. I don't want to be there for everyone anymore. Like, it's like, if I look at pre-attack, right? Pre the dog attack, I was definitely trying to be everyone's everything, like people pleaser, etc. But also at a point where, like I have a lot of spiritual knowledge. I've done this since 2005. I've done a lot of trainings. I've, constantly, working on myself. Like you have to, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, it was also like, how do I change the world? How do I help awaken the consciousness of humanity if I'm not helping everybody, right? Like, and that's where I was really shifting into, especially over this last 12 months. Now I've created a lot of content. There's a lot of content on my website. You can spend hours and hours and hours on there and learn a bucket load. That's taken a lot of time to set up. It's taken a lot of years to like put it all together, of course. And, but I've reached a stage where I can feel everything expanding. I'm no longer being called to work with one-on-one, like 30-minute psychic readings or distance healings. Like you're either in my one-on-one programs or you're in my courses, or you can self-serve yourself on my website. I'm being called to serve in a greater capacity. And that means my time is sacred, and what I'm being called to do in the world is very sacred. And it's like treating myself as sacred. And so that means I'm not here for time wasters. I'm not here to argue with people. If you don't agree with what I'm doing or you don't like what I'm doing, you can just move on. Like, why are you still on my page? Why are you still watching me? So I'm really like, and some people think that I'm a bitch for doing that. Some people think, oh, you're not spiritual if you're not helping everybody. I'm like, dude, I burnt out from that. And I've learned a very big lesson, and my time is sacred. And if you're not going to pay me for my time, there's plenty of other people you can learn from. There's also plenty of stuff on my website, and I'm being called to serve in a greater capacity, plain and simple. Do not need your approval. Thank you very much. So yes, my hair, I do know why I stopped that. I do know why I stopped it. I was like just using the normal chemical one, like going to the hairdresser. I do not do my own hair myself. Don't dye it myself. That's for sure. That's out of my jurisdiction, out of my league. That's what you pay a hairdresser for. But I could feel the chemical build up over the years, and I'd given it a 9-month rest. I realized at the hairdresser on Wednesday, I'm like, oh, it's actually been 9 months. How significant in the healing cycle. And found an organic salon. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this before? But that's a whole nother story in itself of me coming back to the organic, which I actually did share on my post the other day, yesterday actually. And just really coming back to myself is really coming back to the organic, really coming back to all of that's stuff that I sacrificed, that stuff that I put aside, that stuff that I chose not to buy anymore whilst I built my business and got it to the space that I am at now. So and it's like the dog attack also was like, stop everything and actually look how far you've come, and look how far, like look where you're at now, that you can buy organic again, you can do all the things. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like fully coming back to myself, and I'm like, I am sacred. And yeah, it's just so many pieces to that. Let me just check these comments coming through. So thank you. So Susie says, what do I think of the Canadian truckers? I'm like, the Canadian truckers, good on them for following their heart and their intuition, for being able to full intuition about setting up to authority at the moment. So yeah, that's awesome that they're doing that. So do you know what's so weird? Like, so Katie Taylor saying, someone PM'd me from your account last night and then told me it was an Indonesian hacker. Do you know someone else screenshotted that and sent it to me, and they're actually openly admitting that they are a hacker? Like, it's kind of weird. Yeah. Sarah says, I'm dealing with some very dense dark energy at the moment. It isn't shifting. I'm clearing my energy, but it's very serious. Can you give me any guidance? Yes. So Sarah, number one, let me know with what foods you're eating. Let me know with how much water you're drinking. Let me know how much sunshine you've had. Let me know if you're exercising daily. Let me know those things to start with. Sorry for my dilemma. It's only temporary, I know, but it's frustrating because of the timing of it. But I know it's like they're trying to stop me, and I'm like, well, you're not going to stop me. plain and simple. Out with the bad and in with the good. Exactly. I'm like, if you don't like what I say, if you don't like things, go away. Like, I don't understand. Like, why would you hang around something you don't like? Yes, it has been Mercury retrograde until like today-ish or something. Yesterday, today. I think it starts going forward again. And look amazing. Everything's so green around there. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Katie. Almost as beautiful as you. We've had so much rain. Like, it's been crazy. Well, you might have seen on my stories. It might still be there, actually. The bridge flooded last night and the night before. There's been that much rain around here. It's very, very green, because we have had a bucket load of rain. So, yeah. Okay. So Alan says, Dear Hannah, is it possible to persuade the universe to give what a person wants, i.e. love, money, etc.? I know people who have followed psychic people for years to only receive nothing. Okay, so let me just clarify what you're talking about there. So is it possible to persuade the universe? Number one, no. No persuasion. To give what a person wants, i.e. love, money. So can you clarify what you mean by that, in a sense of, like, when you say, I know people who have followed psychic people for nothing to only receive nothing. So do you mean that I was waiting for that. I could see the cats doing that. So clarifying, do you mean that the psychic person, let's say, hang on, let me just try and figure this out, because the cat's just knocked everything off, of course. Oh my gosh, one-handed is really hard. Okay. I'm really over the one-hand thing. It's teaching me so much, of course, but I'm struggling with the lessons. Okay, I'm showing my hand. I'm not perfect. Having one hand is really frustrating. So I'm just needing clarity. So do you mean, right, that the psychic person has promised the person's going to receive love or money and then it doesn't show up? Is that what you mean? And if you can clarify that, then I can answer that. Susie says, you have to remember you can't please everyone. Yes, 100%. Yes, we are all sacred. We certainly are. Love hearing this. Big lesson learned. Definitely big lesson learned, right? Nicola says, still can't help but feel you are not going to be single for much longer. Maybe. Maybe. Okay, Jennifer says, truly gifted, do not charge. I'm like, I beg to differ. Sorry, it's not of the universe. Maybe it's your downfall. Man, come on, guys. What is our current 3D reality run on right now? If you've got an issue with money, go to a psychic that doesn't charge you, who's burnt out as fuck, who won't give you the correct advice, who will promise all these things and not be real about you and real with you about the modern day world. If you want real, if you want reality, if you want to really bring transformation and manifestation from the etheric state into the current 3D density, number one, you're going to have to get comfortable with money. I'm sorry, but people who are like, the truly gifted do not charge. I'm like, what era are we living in? Number one, our world runs on money. Number two, if you believe that, you're in the wrong place. Go off my page, disappear, bye-bye. I'm sure you go to work in a 9-to-5 job, right? It's not about being truly gifted and charging. I'm an entrepreneur, plain and simple, right? This is not where it's at. If you don't like what I do, move right along. I love money because in today's society, you need money to change the world. If you want to help and change the world, let's get real, guys. You need money. Like, to be spiritual, I'm sure, like, Jesus had a freaking accountant, and a financial planner. Mother Teresa would fly around the planes on like private jets around the world. Like, come on, guys, get up with the times, right? All right. Yes, I'm very happy with my hair. I feel like Hannah's back. Can you tell Hannah's back? Guess who's back? All right. Chantel says, what do you think about clones? I'm dealing with a lot of cloned people. Do you mean like robotic clones? Is that what you mean? Okay, so trying to eat healthy, good amount of exercise and out every day. It's somebody who is attacking me and I'm exhausted from it. Yes, there's a lot of attacking energy at the moment. Just check out my page. Just check out my page. Just check out the amount of people who are getting attacked by what's the word, like hackers and like messaging people and cloning their accounts. Honestly, it is like rife at the moment. And just like I said not long ago, I do believe that big corporations are paying people for that. So yeah, eating healthy, trying to eat healthy, interesting choice of words, and good amount of exercise. So I really want to point out it's been a very dark time of year. Like it's been a huge transformational time. I think I might have said this on a live stream not long ago, but I have been definitely saying it to clients, working with my clients every day. Usually I see the collective consciousness and there's a group of people who are up while there's a group of people who are down. And when these people are up, this group is down. It's just something that I notice, right? These people are feeling good, these people are not, right? And so in that space, it's like really looking at, like, I've just witnessed it over this entire time being online, working with clients over the years. What I've seen like this last month is that both groups are down at the moment, which is really, really interesting. And what's just coming to mind as well is, like we have to remember the amount of people that have been jabbed and the energetic effect that has on the human consciousness, on the collective consciousness, and we are all connected to that. The other piece is, like the lockdowns, the travel, the world stuff. There's a lot of disconnection happening that is not of our doing. There's a lot of people feeling powerless and helpless to do anything, even though we're doing our best to change things, right? So we always have to remember that these factors are in play. Now, a little while ago, I said that, like as they're turning on 5G around the world in different locations, that's changing the energetics of the whole planet. And we have to remember that that also plays into a factor as well. So in my new book, I'm also talking about find the zones. Even if you're in a 5G zone, there are places where the 5G doesn't work. Like, how you'd be walking through suburbia or be driving through a certain area and you have like full reception in some areas, or you just go over a hill and there's no reception down the bottom or something. Find the zones in your local area where you have little to no reception and spend time there, because you're not going to be bombarded by the radiation and by the it's going to give your body a breather if you can't get out into country, if you can't get away from suburbia. Find your zones. Okay, so you can easily do it when you're walking around your suburb or wherever you live, and you'll find the places where you've got full reception, and then the places that just barely have none, and find a little park or a little place you can put a blanket down, or I don't know, it's probably cold in some places in the world right now, but find the zones that don't have that and make sure you spend time there as well. But always remember that there's all these factors playing into things right now as well, to be able to, there's a lot going on planetary, there's a lot going on energetically and cosmically with all that stuff that's happening. So yeah, and just in if you're in someone who's attacking you, well then it's like time to put boundaries in place. So it's like the number one thing I've been setting with my clients over this last 2 weeks, especially boundaries. I'm like talking to my clients, I'm like, here's another boundaries conversation. Boundaries support our energetic energy. So when we're setting a physical boundary or any sort of routine or boundary with ourselves, it's an energetic barrier. Okay, it might seem like a physical thing that we're not talking to that person anymore. It's actually an energetic protection. Yeah, so definitely if you're doing all the things and it's not helping, then look at boundaries. That would be your next sort of port of call. I'm just going to move this light because it's annoying me. There we go. All right. Katie Taylor says, my energy is with you, and you are very correct and amazing. Thank you. Susie says, I'm in the US with over a foot of snow out my door. So different, I know. So I was like, I'm pretty sure it's cold, so you can't really just take a picnic blanket and sit down, right? But you can still find those places driving around, well, when you're not snowed in, right? Nathan says, ever hear of having relations with a spirit? That is a very definite thing that happens. It can even happen with physical people who are still alive, who are intruding on your energy and space as well. Yes, it's definitely a real thing. Again, boundaries come into play there as well. Yeah, doesn't matter if they're dead or alive. It's definitely something that comes in. Yeah. Alan says they pay dollars for years and work was all guaranteed, but after many years. Yeah, okay. So that's your clarification on the question. So I guess it just depends on like who you're working with and what they're like guaranteeing, right? So if there was a guarantee in physical writing, then you would take that to the next step and, you know, take it to court or whatever you're going to do. Most courses have disclaimers that it's only up to the individual. Like they're not, you know, like, I want to say guaranteeing the results, because at the end of the day, if that person is not doing the work, if that person is not coming into full alignment, if that person doesn't believe it on some level and fully like shift everything, well, of course it's not going to work, right? But the thing is, and this is where I teach in Trust Intuition, right? In Trust Intuition, you have to understand and trust your intuition, because what somebody might be selling in a course on manifestation or receive this relationship or this amount of money, right? Like if somebody's guaranteeing that to start with, I would be very, very, that's like a red flag in a course, by the way, right? In Trust Intuition, we have to trust our intuition enough to understand what we're being guided to do. Because if something isn't manifesting in your life, yeah, there's blocks and past life traumas and blah, 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 blah. But then also, is it actually truly in alignment for you, your soul's purpose, what's really important to you in your life to actually manifest? And if it is, there is definitely stages and steps to be able to do that. But in Trust Intuition, we literally go through that because we have to understand and see if it is in your highest, if it's in your soul's purpose, if it's in your intuitive guidance to do that. A lot of people with those courses don't work because they're putting all their like, what's the word, like faith. They're like, okay, well, if I listen to you and do what you're doing, then it's going to work for me. First, like rule of thumb in business, especially entrepreneurial business or manifestation, nobody's strategy will work for you. If somebody is selling you their strategy, walk away. It's a red flag. It's a red flag, right? Trust Intuition teaches you to trust your intuition to find your own strategy, because even though there's business structure and there's certain steps that help you, what worked for that person is not going to work for you. Why? Because that's their intuition. That's their guidance. That's their structure. What's yours? Now, a lot of people don't trust themselves enough to be able to do them and manifest their dream life and manifest their life purpose. Why? Because they're too scared, they're blah, blah, blah. There's all these reasons because they simply don't trust themselves to do it. They're like, oh, if I do what they're doing, then it'll work for me. No. Does that make sense? If you've got specific questions about what I've said, just let me know. Okay, just checking these comments. Right. Okay, Vanessa says, are we going into a new retrograde now that may make us focus as much on the shadow? And actually move forward? I'm new to all of this. It's interesting, that concept, okay, because I believe that when we have a spiritual awakening, there's certain stages that we go through in learning consciousness, learning intuition, learning all sorts of things, right? Checking because this reception's dropping. Okay, I think I'm back. Shadow work is a stage in spiritual development. Everything that you learn in consciousness, in anything, I can apply this to everything, okay? Everything that you learn in everything, and so for example, in what we're talking about, spiritual awakening and consciousness, shadow work is a level, let's call it a level, is a level and stage of understanding of consciousness and spirituality, or whatever, let's call consciousness, right? I personally believe that certain planets and astrological lineups and different things will trigger and spark different aspects of consciousness into awakening on a global level. And so shadow work might be a focus for a period of time, depending on what planet, or it's just where everybody's at collectively and growing and awakening, because reality is we are as a collective whole, right? Shadow work is a stage of it. Now we can stay in shadow work forever, and maybe that's what we're being called to share with our life purpose around the world, and we're just like so passionate about it and everything. But it also might be a stage slash phase slash level that we are going through and teaching or sharing or experiencing or learning or going through for our own personal development. And it gets to a point where actually, you know, we still do shadow work, but it's not our be all and end all. We still do shadow work, but it's not everything. We still do shadow work, but we don't do it as much. We still do shadow work, but we don't sit there and listen to a meditation, because we've become the shadow work and we transform as we walk. So when you say, you know, like, that may make us focus as much on the shadow and actually move forward, like, you know, in that instance, it's kind of like, I want to say, without growing the shadow, it's kind of like it's important to look at and integrate these certain aspects for sure, and we might still need to come back to it over time. However, it's a certain stage of spiritual development, and then we move on. And like I said, it's not that we never do it again, but it's like we've become the integration of what we do the shadow work in the first place. Does that make sense? Like, the reason that we do any of this spiritual work in the first place, and this is why you'll find a lot of spiritual people, or, you know, people that do it, sort of do a little bit and then like, yeah, cool, I'm good now, and they go on and create their life purpose in different ways. It's not even spiritual, because they've grown from doing the spiritual work of the point that that's what they were doing it for in the first place. You know what I mean? So, and this is where I can feel myself shifting and not, like, you know, want to be everybody's be all and end all anymore, because I'm being called to do other things, like write my books and other projects I'm working on. And it's like, it's a stage of that. And we do that for whatever we do that for, because then we become the reason we were doing that healing work in the first place, right? We've healed it, so to speak. We're always healing, and there's always layers and levels. But it's like we then have become the reason that we did that, right? We become a different person, because when we integrate shadows, well, we know that we've done a different thing, right? All right. So Cam says, well said, we are humans. We need to eat and have a roof over our heads too. Yeah. It's called entrepreneur work, right? It's, yeah, spiritual work. We're going to call that. I'm like, sure, I teach, I'm a spiritual teacher, but I'm also an entrepreneur. Tony says, I feel you need to have a connection with whoever does your readings. Yes, I feel I have a connection with you, Hannah, and I have connections with others I get help from. Yeah, and we learn certain things from certain people. You know, there's different, like, medicine, codes, energy, consciousness, understanding, gifts, lessons, learnings that we learn from everybody. It's life, right? Thanks, Chantel. Yes, you have got to have money or its equivalent. I think gold and silver may be better now, in a way. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think gold and silver may be better. And it's like, yeah, if the whole structure of world collapses, is that going to happen anytime soon? Do you know that there is people on the planet right now that will never, they will go to their grave, they will die not knowing any of the, like, financial changeover that's happening in the world. They will go to their grave not knowing any of this pandemic that's a plandemic. They will go to their grave not knowing any of that. Did you know that? And do you know what? So, you know, like, we have to remind ourselves that there's so many different realities we can buy into and play into right now. Like, sure, I believe in the gold and silver thing too, right? But we can't go down the shop and buy our food with that right now, can we? Right? So, yes. Is that lovely place yours? No, I just rent this house here, and I have this access to the 250 acres that I'm on. And how about talking about things that you cannot see but you can feel? Yes. So do you mean like the spiritual realm, energetics, emotions, all of those things, which I'm sure is that? Kirsty, thank you. Tony says it's not about money, but you can't expect everything for free. The world doesn't work like this. Yes, exactly. Yes, Hannah's back. That's right. Yes, positive energy back in motion. It hasn't actually been very positive for me lately. I've been very dark space. this whole thing is throwing me, but I'm really like, this is where the transformation in action happens, right? Like this is like living the shadow, if you may. It's transforming it, right? Yeah. Yes, to be the negative in the world, I've joined a pro-choice group. Yes, exactly. Connecting with like-minded people is so important. It's so important. Yes. Alan says yes, they've paid. Yeah, and so, and I could turn around and say, hey, I've spent 300K over my journey on mentors to help me grow my business and my spiritual development and grow as a person and understand life, right? And someone had commented on my page, oh, you like claim to like have spent that much, but you won't do this on your page. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, mate. Like, it's like when you really look at it, I'm like, I didn't say that I've spent over 300K on my, mentors and stuff like that. Like, for any sort of approval, I'm just giving you some perspective that if you want to move forward in life, like they say, go to school, go to university, get a good job, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not the path for me, right? That didn't interest me. But I've spent, if not more, on mentors in the entrepreneurial world because I see them living the life that I want. Now I could turn around and say, I paid that much money and it didn't work. Like, what a crock of shit, right? It didn't work to the extent that I'm not exactly where they are, right? So this is where you're talking with those people, Alan, and kind of like, they definitely would have got something out of it. Are they trying to be exactly like that person? Because that will never work, which goes back to what I was talking about, trusting your intuition. Is it actually in alignment for you? Do you actually trust yourself enough to do your own entrepreneurial business, not follow someone else's structure, which is probably what's going on? Or like, and this is what I always turn around and say. I'm like, I teach this in Trust Intuition. So Trust Intuition starts very soon, guys. We're not very far off starting this for 2022. We're starting on the 22nd of February. And this is the thing, right? Like, you can turn around and say, like, I teach this in Trust Intuition because every psychic can see the pathway. When we do a reading for someone, we can say, oh yeah, you're going to meet this person and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. I do not teach like that because we see that pathway, right? But then there's also all these myriad of pathways that the person that I'm reading for can choose. Now, it might not seem like they've got a choice, but ultimately they do. If they decide to not go to this coffee shop and this event, they're never going to meet that person. If something comes up and they're like, oh, I'm going to stay home and watch Netflix instead, then they're going to miss that opportunity to meet that person. So that love is not going to come in. So I'm very, very, like, I want to say strict in the way that I teach. We do not tell the future. There is lots of different futures that we can see when we read for somebody. That does not mean that that's coming into fruition. Same with any prediction about world stuff. Everybody's felt a shift, right? The trajectory of what was going to happen in the next 6 to 10 years has changed because people are waking up and saying no. That changes the future. No future is set in stone. It's not set in stone ever. So, all right, where am I going? Getting sidetracked. Yeah, and same with the relationship, or same with, the amount of money that you're going to earn, or blah, blah, blah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many variables. Like, nothing is set in stone, right? You have to do the work. But, for me to sit here and say, I've spent that much money on mentors and it didn't work is a crock of bullshit. It didn't work because I'm not exactly like them and I'm not living their life. So, of course, it's not going to be like that. Did they sell me the course on that? No. Nope. Did I, learn a lot and did I get where I am today because of them? 100%. Not because of them, like just because of them, but a big part of that for sure, right? So I've just popped the link in the comments to Trust Intuition. We start soon, yeah, on the 22nd. I think it's only like, is it less than 2 weeks away? It's like, it'll be 2 weeks next week. It'll be 2 weeks next week and we start on the 22nd of the 2nd, 2022. It's a really important date, actually, the 2222s. All right, so Chantel says, well, from what I've learned, these are biological, physical beings that have been born of a petri dish and their minds being downloaded artificially. And from what I have learned, they don't last long, the physical bodies. So can you please share where you're experiencing these clones? Is it at a workplace? Is it in a friend environment? Like, yeah, if you can just give me a bit more information. Katie says there's been mainstream media and advertising that the sun just sent out a huge flare towards the earth. Did you hear about that? I heard about that through Elizabeth Peru. She's been doing spiritual teaching for many years as well. I did hear about the solar flare. It has affected a lot of people this week too. It's interesting that mainstream media is picking that up. It's very, very interesting. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, Monica says, why did they even make the 5G nonsense available in the first place? I can sense these radiations dimming our frequencies. Is that what the governments want us to not evolve and grow? Yeah, at the end of the day, yes, plain and simple, yes. That's why they put us in school for 12 years. Don't think for yourself. I'm going to think for you, right? That's why the entrepreneurs and the crazy people of the world who actually change the world usually don't finish school. You look at most of the entrepreneurs, they never really finished school. Majority of them didn't. Some of them did. Yeah, it's hard to believe, not really for you guys, right? But it is hard to believe for a lot of people when they learn about the 5G and blah blah blah, like all that sort of world, because it's too, like, I don't know if confronting is the right word. It's exactly that. Why would they do that to us? Oh, you're crazy, you don't talk about that. Like, they wouldn't be doing that to us, right? It's sad, right? It is really sad. Much I could talk about that, but yeah. Pauline says, very interesting. Do you offer support after you finish a course with yourself? So there's ongoing support. So in Trust Intuition, it's a 6-month course and it's a live training this year. After this year, it won't be live training. But right now it's a live training over 6 months, every fortnight. And obviously that's held by myself. I also have a hot seat mentoring class in that course. So in the Facebook group. So you're in that group of support, right? You've got lifetime access to the course. You've got 12 months support to the Facebook group, and then you can join, you can stay in the group if you want to after that. But you get lifetime access to the group, to the course, right? So I do have support after that if you choose to stay in the Facebook group. So even whilst the course is going on, I'm doing a live hot seat mentoring, which means we get on Zoom together as a group and you're basically doing one-on-one with me in the group setting, and you can talk about anything and everything that's going on, course related, life related, because as we know, trusting intuition and life purpose is life. It's the whole thing. It's not just one thing. So nothing is off topic. There's also 2 support calls a month in the group as well. So technically there's 3 support calls a month, and that's with Tamara on my team as well. Then you post in the group, I'm in the group, there's all the support in that. So 100% there's definitely support. Because the reason that I created it like that is because when I went through everything, I didn't have that level of support. And that's why I created things the way I have, because with what we're dealing with and trauma and shifting stuff out and that level of darkness and psychic development doesn't end. It's not like you finish the course and then your psychic development cuts off, like it continues, right? So to have that support is really important. So Kim says, I love your energy, even though you say that it has been dark as late. Yeah, definitely has been dark. I live in Canada, and the things you choose to talk about in your lives really resonate with me. Oh, thank you. I had to stop talking to a family member to protect my energy while going through a traumatic time. Sometimes it's needed. I need to create boundaries with this person who is aggressive and toxic. Yes, and sometimes that is hard. But the best thing we can do with that, because especially during a hard time, like as I say, it doesn't have to be forever. Just through a period of time, right? It's so important. Thanks, Adrian. So Saturn is in Aquarius. You need to see where Saturn is in your chart. Then this will tell you what area of life is being tested in for the next 3 years. That's good to know. That's a good heads up, right? Kim says, how do you create healthy boundaries with someone that constantly attacks and judges you? So different levels of boundaries obviously require different people and different sorts of boundaries, if you may. Do you feel comfortable letting me know who it is? Like, I know you said it's family member, like is it mother, father, cousin? Like, I'm just curious who it is. Because it just depends. Okay, it's not going to let me sign in. I do have my boundaries audio as well. I'm not sure if you've listened to that, but that can really help. I don't know if I have it here. Trying to find the link. I do have it on my page, do have it on my website, but I will just try and put it in for you now because I have to sign in there and it's not. Is it the boundaries? I don't think Tamara's here to put this on yet. I'll see if I can find it, and if not, I will post it on my page later because I'm not finding it easily. So I have done an audio talking about boundaries in depth, but depending on what sort of healthy boundaries, like what, like domestic violence orders are a boundary. Yeah. And so I'm like, there's different levels and layers of a boundary that you can put on with a person. So it just depends with that, right? Yes, lie and the gaslighting is insane. Definitely. You're welcome, Vanessa. So you guys, I'm here for Q&A. If you've got certain questions, like go ahead and ask away. So welcome, Pauline. Adrian says, it's in your background of your being. You hold onto the bag of tools. We sure do. And we definitely all walk our own path. Adrian says, I love your way of explaining and speaking to us. Thank you for insights. Thanks, guys. Yes. I think they are planning a currency change over to digital. Yes, they are. That's right. Nothing at the shop to buy. Yeah, there's a lot of things out, right? Imagine going to buy your bread and milk with a painted gold leaf. Exactly, right? And that's that's the reality of it. Sure, things are definitely changing in the future, I'm sure, in some way, shape, or form. But at the same time, is anybody ever even going to know? Like, are the other sleep people going to really recognize it? Probably not. So they'll just carry on as normal. Some things might change a little bit. Might be more online for them. Yeah. Would you say the spiritual is energetics? Oh, good question. I think that there's different densities of it. So if I was to put a word label on it, spiritual feels like it's higher, energetics feels like it's lower in density, but at the same time, they're just words. So yeah, kind of the same thing. Yeah. Yes. Here we go. False advertising. Yes. Okay. So I am not here to like, I'm not here for everybody. False advertising, as real as they can come. And I'm false advertising, You took down my free wisdom advice to help others. I'm like, oh God, come on, please. If you were truly spiritual, Ray, you would sense this truth. No, I'm sorry, but you're yelling in caps letters all over my page, all over my business. And if someone walked in off the street yelling and ranting and raving at me, I would fucking call the police and say, get the fuck off my property, get the fuck off my shop, get out before I call the police. Okay? That is a strong boundary. I have a right to delete whatever the fuck I want off my page. Okay, if you have something that you really need to share with the world, go and create your own fucking page and your own business, write your own damn book, get on live stream, fucking rant and rave all you like. If something doesn't resonate with me that somebody has posted on my page, I'm going to clean that shit up and throw it out in the bin. I'm sorry, but this is my page. If you don't like it, you can get out. I do not need to explain anything to you, but if you're going to yell abuse, if you're going to question what I do with my work, you can get out. Okay? Plain and simple. I will take down whatever the fuck I want, especially when people are coming in here and ranting and raving Jesus Christ and all the shit where I'm like, guys, I'm here for trusting your intuition. If religion works for you, religion works for you. If you come on my page and tell everybody to change to religion, I'm sorry, but you're on the wrong place. Like, don't you understand? Like, create your own reality, bring your own fucking, like, create your own tribe and change the fucking world. That's what entrepreneurs do. That's what that's what people who are in business do. They have a gift and a service and they are servicing the world. They are not going around on everyone else's fucking page and they're not running into everybody's shop that they've built with their own hard blood, sweat and tears and fucking saying, what are you doing? Like, that's fucking calling police material. That's called abuse and harassment. Okay? That's the clarity and truth of it. Plain and simple. Do not question me again, or I'll be calling the police, so to speak. Plain and simple. Get angry with me if you like, because when people set boundaries, that's what happens. Usually people get angry because they don't like it. Plain and fucking simple. There's a boundary example right there. Right? Holding your ground, standing your truth, and you even shake in your truth, shake in your boots, as I say, when we're doing that, no matter which authority or person you're standing up to. Yeah? Shane says, yes, I have learned so much by not limiting myself just to one belief. Exactly, right? It's very, very black and white thinking. If you're in just one, it's a dogma. It's a fucking cult, for fuck's sake. Look what cults do to the world, right? I trust and feel, especially when signs show up in my awareness. I have 5 people around I consider my spiritual teachers and guides. Happy to see your healing. Thank you very much, Shane. Exactly. It's like, take all the bits, take all the food, and feel what's right for you and find your own amongst that, and then spit everything else out. Yeah. Tony says, by you saying what you have spent is telling me you have to put in the effort to make yourself the best you can be. Fucking oath you do. Fucking oath you do. Like, they fucking teach you that in school. If you want to be a doctor, you need to continue your education and you need to go to university, and then you'd be good enough to be a doctor, and here's your damn certificate. Like, you don't just finish high school and like, you're a doctor. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to grow in business, like if you look at any successful person, they would have mentors. They would have gone to business school. They would have done all the fucking things. Why? Because they want to, right? Like, you do. If you want to get anywhere in life, you have to train yourself to do anything. You want to become an Olympic swimmer, you're going to have to fucking get an Olympic trainer to train you and be the best. Like, anything. Yeah, you got it, Tony. 100%. 100%. So true. Just because, or I can see a path for another, that doesn't mean that person will choose that path. Exactly. We see the potential, we see the paths, but it's up to the person at the end of the day to choose whichever one they're going to choose, right? Tony says, I have a male in my life. I can see he has so much amazing qualities, but he has to want or use them. Exactly. That one. So Mindy says, do we plan many elements of our life before we incarnate? Do you know what? That's a very common belief system. There are books written about that. There are spiritual teachings on that. I also believed that for a long time. I still believe that to an extent. Is it like the only thing set in stone? I question things. I'm like, yes, that makes sense. Yes, we can rewrite that. Yes, we can change that. Yes, we can blah, blah, blah. At the same time, I don't want to be stuck in that, because I don't want to limit myself in that. Yeah. So yes, we can. And this is the same with what I was sharing before around shadow work. And it's like, we can, it's a stage of development and understanding along our spiritual awakening. And in our spiritual awakening, it's a stage in development that we reach, that we come across that belief system, that we plan our life purpose out. We plan the elements of our life before we incarnate. There's a group of souls and we have a council meeting and we all sit down. I mean, like, who the fuck even said, who said that in the first place? Do you know what I mean? And then if we look at the world stuff and the depth of the entrapment that human souls are trapped here, etc., we can see that that is a system that is keeping the souls also trapped here. So I also teach and believe, used to, rewriting it, because it is a system, and I'm not saying it's wrong or right, because I still teach it, that when a soul is passing over, there's a portal of light that the soul goes into. You can bring down a hand for the help the soul pass over. Now, that I feel is in this system. What's also outside of this system that I also now teach is that they can choose that. They can definitely choose that. This is the same as a psychic seeing a path that they're going to meet this person and get married in 6 months. Like, oh my God, anybody who says that, don't listen to them. Seriously, like, question everything. It's a red flag if someone's like, psychic is like, this is what's going to happen in your life, right? Anyway, I feel really strongly about that. So it's like, when this whole, like, a soul passes over, it's the same thing. It's like, yes, there's a portal of light and the soul can choose to go in that portal of light and come into this cycle again. I do believe that's an option. What's also an option is there's actually other dimensions and realities that soul can also choose to step into and shift to a whole new dimensional frequency. Maybe come back here, maybe not. There's no one way. Yeah. So yes and no. And I believe that that is a system. Yes. And then it's also like, and what's outside of that system? As I say, question everything and trust your intuition about what feels right for you, because that might feel very right for you, and because that's what you need to explore right now, and maybe that's what you explore forever, and that's what it is for you. And I'm like, trust your intuition with that, because there's something that you're learning deeply, and so like understanding deeply about that system. Yeah. But then I'm also like, and what's outside of that? Yeah. So Benjamin says, I get what you're saying, but is it right for one to love again and find peace, like, and love for someone? How would love be? How would love for someone? How would love thee? I'm just needing more clarity on that question, Benjamin, I should say, Benjamin Dixon. I get what you're saying, but is it right for one to love again, to find peace, light, and love for someone? How would you love thee? So do you mean, like, am I clearly understanding that, you know, you love someone, but that love is no longer there, you've broken up, for example, that relationship's not available? And then you're like, but how do I move on? How, like, is it okay for me to be happy with somebody else? Is that what I'm understanding correctly? Susie says, why do you say right a lot? I'm like, I don't know, right? Are you understanding me? That's probably what it is, right? Is it annoying you? All right, Shane says, yes, exactly. Without investing in her own growth, she wouldn't be doing this awesome work she does. Exactly. Exactly. You can tell someone who's in, you know, not even invested a lot, who's done the work. It shows in the work. It shows in the consciousness. It shows in the work, right? Can pick them if you start tuning into it. And then it's like, and who do you want to learn from? Someone who hasn't or someone who has? And it's not about they have or they haven't. It's like, what consciousness do you want to learn from is more the point. Roxanne says, I've spent a lot on my spiritual journey myself, but I've been deep in my humanness. Exactly. And you know, this comes into a psychic seeing the potential of a love relationship, and we're going to get married in 6 months, and that's what's going to happen for you. Or a lot of money's coming in for you, and that's what's going to happen for you. And so that person's like waiting and waiting, and it doesn't happen. And they're like, that fucking person said that was going to happen, and it didn't. That fucking person forgot to tell you that you create your own reality, and you're going to have to get off your ass and actually do the work to make that happen. Or you're going to get off the couch and start watching Netflix and go to that cafe instead that's intuitively calling you that you didn't listen to. Trust your intuition, right? And Roxanne says, I've spent a lot on my spiritual journey myself, but I've been deep in my humanness. This is the same. Like, we can sign up for a course, we see the potential, we can feel it in our body, and then we're like, but I'm being human, and actually I'm scared to step into that level of success, into that level of different life, because at the end of the day, it is a completely different life. A lot of people are like, what is your dream life? And some people are really clear, and some people are like, I don't know, I just want to be happy, right? It's no wrong or right. But it's like, as Marianne Williamson says, it's not our, whatever that proper saying is, it's not our dark that we're scared of, it's our light. It's exactly that. Like, you know, and usually to be that successful, our entire life changes. We're not living in the same place. We're not hanging around the same people. We're not, you know, getting up and doing the same things. Our life will be very different. And the change that someone has to go through to become that person is usually what stops people, because they're comfortable and they're in their habits and they're in their routines. I'm hearing myself talk. I'm listening. See, we teach what we most need to learn. Chantel, and the message comes through. Not me. It's coming through from spirit. I'm like, I'm hearing. I'm hearing. Got it. Oh dear. Chantel says, my children and other family members. Is that, I know I'm a bit behind in the comments. Is that who's attacking you? Gonna have to remind me. And I was speaking to someone about clarifying who exactly we're talking about here. Katie says, you've got to trust your gut feeling. Usually my first gut feeling is absolutely correct. But so many people are lying now. I know, but we also know, because something will feel off. Something's not right. Yeah. Susie says, maybe the solar flare is affecting us. It definitely affects us. It shifts the magnetic field. Like, it's almost like the magnetic field doesn't exist or something anymore. Like, it does. When there's a solar flare, it comes straight through the field and like burns us. But it can be exhaustion, tiredness, anger, because the fire is associated with heat and anger. It burns through, it's like it burns through consciousness. It burns through bullshit. It burns through layers. If you really look like solar flare, it's like burning through from the sun. So it's like burning through, I say burning through consciousness, not in a bad way. It's burning through the crap so that you can have clarity in your consciousness. So usually when there's solar flares, you might feel tired and exhausted. Make sure you drink more water, sleep, blah, blah, blah. Take extra care of yourself, but you also might have a lot of insight. You might have a lot of aha moments. You might have a lot of clarity that starts coming through as well, because everything's being burnt away for the truth, if you may too. Yeah. So Pauline says, great info. We don't stop to think that we are sort of only at the beginning of our awakening in a big way. Who would have thought that things would change so dramatically and quickly in such a short period of time. Yet it wasn't so long ago that people were scared to talk about an awakening. Exactly, right? So the next 5 to 10 years is going to see this stuff even more, which, you know, if we look at it compared to 5 years ago, a big shift already. Yeah? And that's what I was saying when I first came online. Yeah. Katie says, can I come to you and get trained by you in person? Yes, you can. I do have in-person available spaces. I'm curious where you are in the world, Katie. Susie says, if 5G can affect us, why are they still rolling it out? Won't it affect them the same way? Or is there a way to be protected from it? Good question. Makes you wonder. I don't like recommending Netflix shows, but if you watch The 100, there's quite a lot of episodes in that. I think it was season 2. I watched it a while ago now. It was very interesting that they were affected by the radiation. We weren't so much. So it's different species, if you may, which is an interesting concept in itself, given the state of the current state of the world. Yeah, there's definitely ways to be protected from it. Number one is having a clean and healthy body. When we're eating crap foods, especially genetically modified foods, especially ones that have got things inserted into the foods and are now being GM grown with the jab stuff in it. And if we're ingesting that, it's going to lower our vibration. If our body is toxic, we're going to have a low vibration. That's where the darkness comes in. That's where we can be attacked more. That's where we feel the effects of radiation and everything more. When we have a clean and healthy body and detox and stop eating crap, and not just stop eating crap, like proper detox, proper cleaning out the liver, like proper stuff, guys. I'm not talking like, oh yeah, eat healthy. Oh yeah, I did a detox once 10 years ago. Like, no, I'm talking about lifestyle change. Again, successful. People scared of that. So, like, full change of lifestyle, right? And it's like, you know, and that protection comes from being super healthy and having a higher vibration and not eating the foods that lower our vibration, because that is what makes us sick. Yeah. So that affects us more. It's like a doorway in when we're low like that, if that makes sense. Yeah. Shane says, I'm pretty sure it's just how she was brought up. Right? Am I still saying it? I don't even know, right? Lena says, so much support in this beautiful group. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lena. Rita replying to Graham's comment. Graham, you probably do have the best intentions, but you should create your own page or platform. That's exactly what I'm talking about. This is Hannah's platform. She's worked her butt off for. She doesn't have to answer to you. Exactly. And that's the thing. When people like rant and rave like that, everyone can just see that. Exactly what I said. Rita, you're replying, saying exactly what I said. Everyone's like, dude, get your own platform. Why are you on her page? Like, exactly, right? Just looks silly. Okay, so Susie says, why are diseases and viruses getting worse? They're stronger, quicker to develop, and are more transmissible. So we are told. The biggest disease begins here. And we are fed that disease by here. Or TVs or whatever. That's the biggest disease. I rarely get sick. Rarely. Same my daughter. Why? Because I hold a belief we don't get sick. We're always healthy. I don't say we don't get sick because I'm focusing on that. We're always healthy. Yeah? They're not getting worse. People are eating crap. And then they're watching crap. And then they're believing crap. And the belief is feeding the body. That's where the true virus is. If you take a detox off technology, off watching any of that stuff, or even the world stuff of truckers or whatever that's going on about standing up to it, if you detox from that, if you only ate fresh fruit and vegetables for the next month, and you cut out coffee and all processed food and tin food and milk and dairy and meat and stuff for 30 days, I guarantee you'll probably feel really shit, because your body's going to go, oh, finally I can dump all this crap out of my body, right? And you're going to feel really shit. You're going to feel worse, and you're going to be like, Hannah, I'm getting sick. It's like, yeah, your body's given a chance to have a break to get this shit out of your body, because at the moment it's trying to function with all of that in there. It's very low vibration because of that, right? Detoxing is not easy. I would definitely recommend being in a group or around a mentor or someone who can guide you through it, because if you don't do it properly, and because you do get sick because your body's pushing all the toxins out. And if you don't know how to get rid of the toxins out of your body, people around you go, oh, that's bad. What are you doing? And then you stop the detox and you start eating normal again. Normal. You know what I mean? It's so important, right? But they're not getting worse. They're not getting more transmissible. They're more transmissible through this. Yeah. Oh, the clones. Okay, thank you, Chantel. Okay, well, what are we supposed to do with the clones? I feel the situation is kind of like a Disney movie Pinocchio. He was a toy, but because someone really loved him, then he became a real boy. Yeah, well, it's really interesting, isn't it? You know, and so being, you know, like conscious of that, I want to say it's like treating them like that, not treating them bad or worse, but you're conscious that they're not real, so to speak. So you're, I want to say, playing with them. What's coming to mind is like when a scammer will call me and they're like, oh, you were like in this car accident, you know, and now the insurance and you have to pay this by this and this. And I'll be like, oh, was I? That's interesting. And they'll be like, yeah, like, and I'll be like, oh, so tell me about this accident. And they're like, well, you know what it is because you were in it. I was like, oh, really? That's kind of interesting. Like, oh. Okay, tell me about it. Like, oh, well, you know, and I'm like, no, you rang me telling me that I'm in an accident. You tell me about it. Beep, beep. I'm like, I play. Sometimes we play. That's sort of what's coming to mind. In a sense, we know what they are. We know who they are. We know where they're at. This, by the way, takes skills. In trust intuition, we start to learn to decipher what's real, what's not. We also learn how to hold space for what's real, what's not, and also where we hold space for where that person is at on their journey, which is understanding the spiritual journey and all these different layers of consciousness that we talk about, right? When you know and see and feel this playing out, you're able to hold space for that without being tripped out, without being scammed, without being all the things. So definitely take skills to do that, being trained in ways to do that, right? Kim says, yes, it's my sister. Okay, cool. So thank you for that clarity. It was you. It was you. I know I'm behind in the comments, but I'm getting there. I like having a chat with you guys. So depending on the relationship you have with your sister, if you haven't listened to that boundaries audio, send me a message even, and I can send you the link directly, but I'll make sure it's posted on my page today or tomorrow. You know, like it sounds like, you know, some like maybe you've already done this, like, hey, I'm feeling uncomfortable with the way that you're talking to me right now. Can we talk about this another time when we're both in a calmer position, even though you might be in a calmer position? You know, or like, hey, I'm feeling really hurt by the words that you're using. Is there a way that we can communicate without this language or something? Now, some people get really fired up and they hate the way you talk like this. It can make it worse because they're like, why are you talking like that? Stop talking like that. Because do you know what it's doing? It's making them become aware of actually how they're talking to you. And that it's making them really uncomfortable because they're having a self-reflection awareness moment. And that's really uncomfortable for people who are unconscious to that. So setting those sorts of boundaries, or if it's text message or email or something like that, you know, is always usually the best, because it slows it down and don't reply straight away. I would give it like good 24 hours and then say, hey, like, I'm feeling really uncomfortable the way this conversation is going. Is there a way we can talk in a different way, or a different time when we feel better, or blah, 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 blah. If those are not adhered to, it's like, okay, if you know, I'm asking you to be nice to me. I'm asking, you know, for us to talk about this in a different way. Is that something that you can do? Usually they're like, blah, 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 blah. They're not even hearing you. And then it's then setting another boundary in place going, well, then, you know, I'm going to have to put, I don't know if we're using the word boundary. I'm just going to have to leave this conversation for now and we can come back to it at another time. Now, in yourself, you know that you're just not going to answer any text messages or trusting that you can still hear me. Just let that flick over for a minute. All right, trusting you can hear me. So it's like, you know, in yourself, you know that you're not going to answer text messages or anything like that for a month. Just depending on the relationship, depending on if she's listening or not, you might state that to her, like, hey, I need a month's break or something. It's usually not, doesn't really help saying those sorts of things to people, but you just know in yourself you're not going to answer that because it gives time and space for it to calm down, that sort of thing. That would be sort of a starting point. Depending on the relationship, depending on how that unfolds, you know, you might need longer than that amount of time to not have contact, or speak, you know, and obviously if it escalates, well, then there is, you know, police involvement, which isn't nice, but if they're not listening and it escalates and gets aggressive, well, then you need to put them in place as well. And sometimes that needs to happen for that to, you know, happen, which isn't nice, right? Okay. So, yeah, so Cam White's good. I love listening to Pam Gregory as well. She's really awesome, Pam Gregory Astrology too. Susie says, I love the info on your website. Yeah, thank you. Felt so connected to you since I've discovered you. Yeah, there's a lot of content on my website from all the years that I've done everything. It's a big piece. So Mindy says, do we plan aspects of our life before we incarnate? So I answered that question before on like, it was a very similar question. I'm not sure if you heard me answer that. It's very similar to what you asked just then. Yes, crypto is important. Exactly. All these different avenues for sure. Katie says, hey, we can use Canadian gold coins. I meant for saving reasons, not for using daily. Yes, that too. Yeah, there's different ways to invest in our finances, in extending our ways that we're able to use our money and investments. And that's something, you know, that, you know, you should be learning in some sort of business, you know, aspect if you're going to create a life for yourself. Being around people who are smarter than you is always required if you want to change your life, right? So Monica says, I just find it pretty funny, also strange, that when you treat others the way they treat you, they get so shocked. It is the wake-up mirror. Exactly, right? Katie says, I see that big, long capital letter thing. You need to block that person. Yes, done. Yeah, don't need to let these people bother you. It's not a bothering, it's a setting a boundary. And it's like, I'm sorry, but that is not acceptable. That is not okay. Go and start your own page. Everyone said it. Everyone saw it, right? Boss bitch, that's the one. That's the one. Yes. Clean the shit out of your shop, house, wall. Exactly. Yeah, I feel like getting my 4,444 now. That's the thing, right? There's a reason. Like, and the thing is, what I charge because do you know what that is? That's also a boundary. I don't want the time wasters. I don't want the people who are not willing to do the work, right? You pay money, you do the work. Yeah, I'm done with trying to be everyone's everything. I'm here to support the leaders. I'm here to support the rebels. I'm here to support the entrepreneurs. I'm here to support the people who are willing to step out and actually change the world, not just sit there and say, I need help and somebody do it for me, because that's not what reality awareness is about. This is about empowering you to do it for you. But the pricing that I charge in my courses, in my one-on-one work, is a boundary, plain and simple. It's a boundary. I'm at a point in my life where my time and energy is sacred. Also where I'm being called to take reality awareness and other things that I'm being called to focus on. It's been like 5.5, nearly 6 years now of building reality awareness, of building trust intuition. When I started trust intuition, it was just to help people advance in their spiritual and psychic development. It was like 3 years later, I got the message to change it to be a certification, because it got to a point where I was helping people and doing all this thing where it naturally evolved to these people being ready to take it to the next level, right? And now it's where it's at now, because I'm here to serve the people who are going to help other people and serve other people, because I can't do that all. But the more I help you guys become so acutely attuned in your intuitive healing, you're going to go and help other people. You're going to teach other people, and then those people will teach other people, and those people will teach other people. That's how we change the world, right? So the financial side of things is also a boundary. If you're not ready for that, that's why my website is like it is, and you can go and learn so much and spend so much time watching my videos and listening and multitasking and doing all the things. Free meditations, advance your psychic development. Like, there is so much stuff on there. There's a reason for that, because then you'll be ready to do the next level. Or you might move on to something else and it might not be an interest for you anymore. Perfect. You're trusting your intuition. That's the whole point, right? Susie says, I think that religions teach similar lessons and all believe in some higher power or source. They certainly do. They are all different perspectives on the same things, and we can learn a lot by being open to accepting what comes into our reality. Definitely. It doesn't have to resonate though, and that's the thing, like, you know, to follow a specific system doesn't work for me. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a, you know, intuitive healer. That means we take a piece of everything and we intuitively use what's being guided through us, not from somebody's system that they've written in a book. But that doesn't work for everyone. Some people need that system and structure, hence what religions and why people resonate with them, right? Not everyone's the same, and I'm not here for everybody. So Kim says, I was almost to the point where I was ready to get a restraining order. Ah, there we go. Yep, stop the harassment and going through my 16-year-old daughter. Yes, goodness me. Thank you for your stuff and boundaries. I love that you called out a troll on your page. Yeah, prime example. Prime example. So Benjamin Dixon says, so if one can trust, can one find love and peace at the same time? If there is that one waiting for them, I certainly believe that, 100%. And I want to say the other relationships didn't work out because it wasn't meant to be. And I fully believe that the one that's meant to be will be. Yeah? But we have to open ourselves up to that level of trust, safety, and doing that again. We have to put ourselves in that situation. Does that mean we'll never get hurt again? No. Of course we will. And any human gets hurt in a general relationship, not even intimate, right? And not even meaning to. Do you know what I mean? It's just, we're humans. We all have a heart and we all have emotions and feelings, right? Like, but we need to get to that point where we're ready to open up to find that again. And usually it's better than the last, right? We're growing in some way, yeah? Facts, big facts, Truth bombs even. Love your passion, thank you. I'm an Aquarius, what sign are you? I'm a Virgo. Mindy says, thank you. I was tuning into my intuition about that question and the answer I got back was that it's true for some but not for everyone. Yes, yes. I'm not sure if you heard my response to what I shared, but it's very, very similar question. So yeah, I did share that. I'm an Aussie, yeah, right? Got it? It's so typically Hannah. There we go. That's just me. Hey, you better shut your pool gate in the background. Some council asshole might find ya. Ah, I'm sitting out here with it, so. See, Jazz agrees. I'm not sure if you heard that. She's like, go away. Go away. Okay, so Tracy says, my man says to me that too much information may not always be good for me, talking about what is happening in the world today. Honestly, we need breaks from that stuff. Because that's the virus, it's feeding the reality of that, right? And that's where I say unplug from that and focus on your purpose, which is creating the reality we want, not feeding that. But some people are being called to protesting and doing that. That's the purpose, right? That's not where I'm at though. And sometimes we need a break to unplug and go, where am I being called with my time and energy, right? Yeah, exactly, Adrian. So Adrian says, I felt like when I came out of hospital operation, I was in a parallel universe / dimension. I was also in a point of injury. Hasn't my foot in a moon boot for 6 months. Yeah, I felt, what did you say there? I felt things I previously did but didn't feel connected to as much. It shakes us because when we're in a trauma, we disappear from our body. And if we don't do the things to bring ourselves back, we stay, I want to say outside, we stay shattered. And that's why in Trust Intuition and in the ear chakra consciousness, we do specific work through the timeline to pull those pieces of ourselves back and recall our energy, because we do stay stuck. That's what trauma is. We're like stuck in these like aspects of time, and it's so important to bring all yourself back, because that's why people feel scattered. They don't feel grounded no matter what work they do. They're just like all over the shop and they can't focus and do stuff. It's like, yeah, because you're like stuck in all these little dimensions of time, right? So yeah, there's a lot of pieces there about that, right? Quantum healing is so important. Yes. Yeah. Yes, lots of lessons. It's interesting, right? When we're like disconnected and then we're very connected when we're working on the healing with it, right? Yes. Yes. I say yeah a lot too, I know. Some people are like, you need to take like, what's those things? Not etiquette. I have had that before as well. You need to like take lessons on etiquette, and you need to take a speech and grammar course, or what's the words, like where they teach you how to like speak properly. And I'm like, I'm just being real. Like, if you don't like it, you can find somebody who's all prim and proper, because that's not me. I like to just be real, right? So Shane says stuck in humanness. I totally get that. But when we are aware, that is the moment we have the power to start to create changes. Yes, exactly. And yeah, and then we have to have a willingness about that, yeah? Yeah, Pam Gregory, astrologer, said about 3 years ago, moving through the photon belt, our sun is a lot brighter and whiter. Yeah, and over the next few years, that's going to increase as well. There's a lot of like she doesn't say thinning, but that's my sort of understanding. Like things are, the energies are going to get stronger, and I have been saying that for like the past 2 years. It's like the manifesting, what you're focusing on is like bringing more and more in. Hence why, like, you know, when I was going through that dark thing last week, I didn't want to come on a live stream and just talk about all the bad shit. I just wanted to process it, and then I just wanted to come back into service and be here answering questions for you guys, for example, right? Like, I don't want to bring all that stuff up. It's a bit like when the attack happened, and if you didn't watch my live stream, I feel betrayed by the dark. That's really hot sitting out here. That live stream was me understanding at a deep level why this happened, because I said no to the dark, to putting all the Netflix shows together that I'd watched and explaining like all the pieces of what they're doing through the Netflix shows. And I was like, I don't want to send people down that rabbit hole. Like, I want to focus on reality awareness and bringing the conscious awareness to things not in that way. I don't want people to go down those rabbit holes. It's the dark side, if you may. I'm like, and I said no to that, and then that's why this happened, in a long story short. And it's the same thing. It's like, you know, coming through that of like what we're focusing on, like these, over these few years, astrologically, like it's getting thinner or stronger, or what we're manifest is getting faster. Like, even if we think about, you know, like I was talking about time actually with my client 2 days ago. We're talking about time and how different time is to like 20 years ago, even 5 years ago, but how there are also still people on that 20-year-old timeline. And then there's all these different timelines and trajectories that we can be traveling on. And this is where reality's changing. We literally can be on this timeline or on this timeline. They all still exist, and they're all existing at the same time. And we can choose which one. And you can feel when you're shifting to another timeline and stuff happens, or whether you're moving back, and you might find that you move back and forth through the timelines as well. That's a very distinctive thing that's happening at the moment as well. Where do you want to be physically, mentally, energetically, spiritually? How are you treating yourself? Which timeline are you on? That is all very real at the moment too. The energies. Lee says, my spiritual awakening is definitely burning through the bullshit. That one, right? Katie says, do you know this, all the new things that are coming out in the mainstream media that are only there for a day and then they disappear? Yeah, it's interesting, right? It's almost like, and that is because they have to disclose it, but then they take it away. They're not like hammering it in because they don't want that truth, but they throw it in. They also do that for confusion as well, right? Barbados, Shungite to protect against EMF. Yes, exactly. Ugh, I don't know about drinking bentonite clay. Medical medium has some interesting things about drinking stuff like that, but trust what's right for you, of course. Kayla says there are bunkers. They don't have the heavy metals in them from the vaccines, including all the previous ones, not just COVID. The others have aluminium. Yes, exactly. The aluminium also hold us down for sure. And that's why medical mediums, like his heavy metal detox. I'm sure there's other heavy metal detox. I just really resonate with medical medium. Of course, find what's right for you, as I always say. Just because it's organic doesn't mean it's non-GMO. Exactly right. Definitely. All of those things make your food your medicine. Yes, yes, yes. They've dropped the mandates in Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Hungary, and Alberta, Miami. The lockdowns actually help. Yeah, I know. There's big changes happening around the world for sure. Yeah. Susie says, have you ever heard of the image sphere? It's about how the things we watch, read, listen to, consume, surround ourselves with affect us. We need to protect our image sphere. Exactly. This is where creating our own reality and being around mentors and people and only listening and blocking everything out and unplugging and all those things that I talk about. So important. Create your own reality. Journal, like manifest, visualize, do the things, unplug, like, be so mindful about what you're absorbing, listening to, what's your subconscious seeing, like, all the time. Like, it's very ear chakra consciousness. Yes, 100%. So Vinny says, hey Hannah, I'm Scorpio, and at this point I'm having some issues with taking back my cup. I'm trying to secure it again, but unaware people in my life are making it hard not to just throw the cup away. Any wise words? So stop listening to those people.
Sometimes we can't avoid being around them because they might be family or in the same household or something, but we can avoid talking to them about anything that we're doing that's increasing our life and propelling us forward. So just stop talking to them about it. Find mentors such as myself or groups of people, Trust Intuition Tribe, Transcendence Reality Society, people you resonate with, and they're the places that you talk to about your dreams. This is, where you can, talk to them about your household people, for example, about the weather, or you can talk to them about dinner, but you just zip it with anything else. You do not talk to them about anything else, right? Because those people will pull you down. Those people will make you want to throw the cup away. Those people will blah, blah, blah. You just don't talk to them anymore about it. And if they ask you, what are you doing? You just say, oh yeah, it's going great. Thank you. And how's your day today? And what would you like to do on the weekend or something? I don't know. Like, you just don't even talk to them about it anymore, right? So yes. All right. So I'm just not wanting to talk too much about the world stuff on here because I want to keep this page open and I want to keep things on there. So I'm not really going to talk more about the thingos. Just noticing the comments here. Yeah, it's in plain sight. That's right. They are smart. They are smart and they're not smart. Yeah. I was just going to ask about your website and it popped up. Thanks, AI. AI is good for some things, right? Could you explain why it seemed warmer all over too? Seemed like winter has come later each year. It's so interesting. I was talking about someone yesterday about that, to my mum actually, and talking about how so like we don't have a spring and a summer anymore. I know in some climates you'd really notice that, but it's almost like goes straight from summer to winter. We don't really have much of a spring or an autumn anymore. And I've definitely noticed like the past 3 years that spring or winter's gone late, summer's gone late. Like, do you know what I mean? It's almost like it's probably about 6 to 8 weeks out. It used to be very definite. And this is where I'm saying about time changing as well, right? Compared to 20 years ago, for me now, looking at the seasons, like, it'd be like September, this season would change. But now it's sort of like end of September, mid-October that we really start to notice a change. It's like it's a couple months late. It's interesting, right? There's quite a bit of in-depth stuff that could explain that yeah, it's not really for this live stream either. So yes, authentic speech. Thank you. Yeah, time goes slow, sometimes going fast. Yes, definitely. And time is also what we make it as well. Rather than us being controlled by time, we can come into our own power about how we use our time and how time can work for us. Yeah. How much does it cost to be tutored by me? So one-on-one for 12 months, it's $250K for the year. And if that's not available for you, then there's definitely coming into my groups and you get the one-on-one mentoring, like the hot seat group mentoring through my programs as well. So Trust Intuition's $4,444, this is all US dollars. And then, yeah, to work with me one-on-one for 12 months is $250K. I know that's not available for everybody, but that's where I'm being called to be. And to where I'm being called to focus on writing my books, and to do that I need time and to just dedicate myself just to my inner circle clients, which is the 250K program. It's the Life Purpose Accelerator, and you get a lot of support in there. You ask any of my clients, even if they haven't done Life Purpose Accelerator, I'm very present with my clients. I'm very like, it's you're in my daily life. There's daily contact, and then there's a lot of like, Zoom stuff we do. In-person stuff if you're in Australia, of course, and depending on other world stuff, like there is that like that it was ultimately the plan. And even with where I'm taking reality awareness, it was always the plan to build what I have. And then COVID happened and I was like, okay, that's interesting, okay, well, I just need to keep doing this stuff. But there's definitely been the travel and the places around the world. That's always been the plan. So Rita says, do you believe in actual time travel? Yes, definitely. I definitely believe, and it's so funny, my client that I was talking to, she's in my inner circle. It was literally, this is the time, right? And I was like, it feels like, this is how I described time to her. It was like we could literally step into a space, like we could literally open a door and I would step into the UK. Or I could literally open the door and I'd step into the US. Like, that's how time feels at the moment. I don't know, it sounds crazy. But when we really like, because this is what we're talking about, it's like, you know how over the years, and we're like, oh, the veils are really thin at the moment when there's an eclipse or, I don't know, certain astrological lineups. It's like the veils are thin and you can feel the spirits around and that sort of thing. Like, you know how we'd sort of say that, right? Whereas today, these days, it doesn't feel like the veils are thin. That's not, the veils are not thin. It's a different feeling with that, right? It's like time, not just time has changed, dimensional reality has changed. I know you guys let me know if the wind is too windy. It's like the wind's changed direction, which happens here. Storms will like come around the ridge and then they'll come straight across. It's so weird out here. I don't want anything to blow over. It's getting really windy. Talking about portals and time travel and wormholes and doorways. And the wind starts freaking picking up and going crazy, right? It's kind of interesting. Interesting concept. So yes, I believe in time travel. Have I done it myself? No. But it's funny because I'm creating Rapid Ascension Awakening, which is the full course on the chakras, which we're doing in Transcendence Reality Society. You guys might have heard me talk about that. At the moment, we're about to start throat chakra. And when I was creating crown chakra consciousness, it was like, you know, channeling away, filming my stuff as we do. And like literally got the message, like it was like channeling through me. And they're like, and by the end of Rapid Ascension Awakening, so as we go down the chakras, which is like another 12 to 18 months away of these courses, and you'll be able to time travel. And I'm like, oh, or teleport was the thing. You'll be able to teleport. And I was like, I stopped myself mid-filming and I was like, oh, like I could understand the concept, but I was like, wow, for real? And I'm like, kind of, because as we're coming down into reality. We're going down to the base, we're birthing new realities. And it's so interesting because at the ear chakra consciousness, all the time travel started coming up as well. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of real. How the wind is like fully picked up when we've been talking about this. Crazy. All right, show us a portal then. Far out. Let's just ask for one, shall we? Oh, that's funny. Yes, it is in the chemtrails. That's right. A rare, wonderful gem in this modern world. Thank you, guys. Jared says, only think about what needs to happen and it will, law of attention, let it sink. Exactly right. Put no thought into the negativity, right. And for me, when it's like no thought into the negativity, it's just that I don't want to voice it and talk about it and like solidify it. But I'm definitely real in when I feel the darkness, when I'm angry, when I'm frustrated, like, fuck, you'll know about it in a way, do you know what I mean? But I just don't want to get on live stream and talk about it anymore. That's sort of where I'm coming from with that. But please know I'm very real with my emotions, like 100%. Tamara says, I don't think we have specific seasons anymore. It's 4 seasons in one day. I know, right? It's like Melbourne has expanded. The famous Melbourne weather. 4 seasons in one day is like the entire world now or something. And do you know the other weird thing when we're talking about this too, right? You know, I've got clients all around the world, yeah? And it's happened quite a bit in the last couple of months where a client will be like, oh, this is the weirdest weather that we're having today. Sorry, I'm trying to get my cat. You know, like the weirdest weather and blah, 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 and they're telling me about the weather. And I'm like looking outside my window going, wow, that's the exact same weather we've had here for the past couple of days. And like it's happened like from the UK, the US, Canada. Well, not Canada, doesn't snow here, but I was just like, wow, it's kind of interesting concept. I'm like, maybe we are in a dome. I don't know. I'm just open to all information, right? But it's very interesting things. Let's just all agree that there's definitely something's changed. It's definitely not what it was 20 years ago. And maybe with that concept of the 20-year timeline, the 20 years, like that timeline still exists for people. That's the thing. There's still people living in that world. Like people don't even know what crypto is still today. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's still people in that 20-year-old timeline, let's call it. And then there's all these different timelines, right? And then when we look at that concept, it's like, well, if we're not in that 20-year-old timeline anymore, weather has changed in this one because it's a different dimension. Interesting. How's my recovery going? Very up and down. I want to say fucked, but that's not the right truth. I'm very up and down with it. I'm frustrated that my finger's broken that when the pins got pulled out, it got rebroken, and I wasn't aware until Monday. So I'm trying to like exercise it, as the hand therapist said, because the x-ray was done before the pins were taken out. That really threw me. It's hard to go back to one hand when I was starting to use it and starting to exercise it and stuff, but now I just can't move it again because the bones actually got a repair. So I got about another month. I got a month in this again, and then I start the rehabilitation of it. So next question. That's how it feels. Up and down. Yeah. Most of my gardening friends say their seeds haven't come up this year. Yeah, that's interesting because my seeds have. I've even been putting my seeds in my mouth. And I've actually got a watermelon growing and celery growing from the seeds in the mouth. Have you guys heard about that? Putting your saliva on the seeds before planting them. So yeah, I think it's different realities of people, maybe. There are working on those time machine portals, I know. They do exist without the machines, but that's the machines trying to copy everything. It's interesting, that whole concept. Andrew says, it's been here a few times, can even remember choosing my mother. What do you think about that? Yeah, so I spoke about our choices when we come into this lifetime, and who we choose and who we're around and that sort of thing. You know, like, so I do have that, I did speak about that because it is a reality for sure. And a lot of us are still in that. What's also interesting, the past 2 years working with my clients, the things that have been coming up in the past 2 years compared to the past 3 years prior to that, is that those karmic cycles are being, I want to say, deleted. It's like the karmic cycles are being finished for the final time. It's like when people are stepping up to do the work with me these days, in the past 2 years I've noticed, I'm like, wow, I feel like this is the final of this karmic cycle. Yes, you've had these karmic cycles over and over and over again, but this is actually the last lifetime you're going to experience that with them. It's like different dimensions choosing now, which is an interesting concept, but I've been feeling that with so many of my clients lately. So that's almost confirming that reality is changing and the different dimensions are changing. It's also what we're choosing in that. Yeah. Beam me up, Scotty. Yes, 250k. Yes, there's lots of people in the world that earn that actually. So yeah, it's just not for you. So not that you were working with me beforehand when it was less than that. So it's not about the money, is it? Interesting concept that. This is so important to understand, guys. So I spoke to someone earlier today about, was it yesterday or something? And I was like, let's be real about this. So she was sharing this stuff, and I was like, yep, that's what Trust Intuition does, uncovers all this stuff. She turned around and said, I've been unable to proceed, you know, like I've only got one income coming in, blah, blah, blah. It's like all these excuses. And she even said, it's like excuses. I was like, you said it. I was like, well, we can always find a way when it's important to us. Better to be honest and say that it's actually not a priority right now, right? Money is never the reason. This is so important to understand, guys. Money is never the reason. I always say, people are like, I can't afford it. And then when they'll go and buy their favorite bottle of wine at the bottler, I'm like, money's not the reason. It's just not important. It's not a priority. Actually, I don't want to work that deeply on myself yet, right? And I said, money's never the reason. I said, better be honest and say it's not the priority. And she's like, yes, actually, I agree. It's not the priority right now. Timing is everything. I was like, yep, awesome for clarity, because we don't want to make money problems when there is none. Did you hear what I just said? We don't want to make money problems when there is none, because it's never about the flipping money. Yeah? Felt important to definitely say that. Okay. Yes, realities definitely have changed for sure. Yeah, and lots of dreams. People have been having very, very vivid dreams in the last week as well. Like very vivid, very weird dreams, inception dreams, I call them. They're different realm dreams. It's not just a normal dream. Sonia says, I just saw a shift in time and porthole for a split second off to the right of your screen in front of the pool, right side of the gate. This land out here, I tell ya, there's some very interesting on here. Yeah. Do I need a security guy? Maybe in the future. I can hear the grasshoppers or the crickets. Yeah, lots of cicadas out here as well. There's lots of animals out here, trust me. So many animals. The wind sounds. Okay, awesome. It's not too windy. Got it. Awesome. Bone heals faster than tendons. Yeah, well, that's interesting, and because it's a different break, it's been a different recovery in a way, because it was the bone and the tendon. So usually someone just breaks the bone or somebody just snaps a tendon, whereas mine was both. It was just like, and so it's been a very different recovery, because the tendons actually need movement to heal, whereas bones don't, obviously. And so I've had to keep it still for the bone and then really work the tendon, and then the bone, like, do you know what I mean? Ugh, yeah, but they do heal very quickly. The doctor said 4 weeks, and I've been working on a lot shorter than that, of course, but, you know, got to wait for the timeline as well. So, yeah, has anybody got any more questions? We do start Trust Intuition soon. I've pinned the comment to the top there. If you've got questions about it, let me know. Otherwise, you can jump on a call with Catalina, and she can get you in there. It's like 14 days or something away that we start, and I'm really excited because I've actually been working on the booklet. It's like the big printout. It's like the big manual that I'm getting printed professionally and posted out hard copy. I'm really, really excited about it. It's been a long time in the making. So it's going to be very exciting to have your own like full manual as a healer. Very, very excited to be working on that, as long as my internet comes back today. What sign am I? I am a Virgo. I'm a Virgo. Alright, anybody need any more support, help, questions? We've been talking for ages. Needed to connect with you guys. I was thinking that I might do Friday Q&As every week. What do you reckon about that? Just kind of feeling it. Friday Q&As, or it'll be Thursday Q&As for some of you around the world. For sure. For sure. Might go and jump in the pool. It's hot. It's hot. When I jump off live stream. Not now. You know, because I've got to take all this off and stuff. Alright guys. Love you guys. See you soon.